Long-term spaceflight is certainly not an easy task. For me personally, it is difficult, not even physically, because I have adapted to the weightlessness very quickly, but psychologically. Here, at the altitude of several hundred kilometers, I miss the Earth very much. I miss home, my loved ones. I miss my daily routine. Everything that is left down there.
In space, a variety of factors affect the psychological state of a person. Long stays in weightlessness, confined space and distance from Earth, complex work with high risk. All this, of course, increases the stress felt by the astronauts during a long flight. Today, they will tell you how to cope with stress and show what psychological support for the crew in the orbit is.
To live in an enclosed space at a distance of 400 kilometers from Earth is a serious test. Therefore, before being enrolled, all future astronauts undergo strict psychological selection. Numerous tests, checkups, and interviews help experts to determine whether the candidate is ready for all the challenges of a space flight. Throughout the learning and training processes, each crew prepares to travel to the space station not only physically, but also psychologically. However, no matter how good and proven over the years the ground training is, in weightless conditions, a person starts to understand many things very differently. And in some cases, an assistance from the Earth is extremely necessary for him. Unfortunately, you can never relax. As the ISS is flying in space, and space is a very aggressive environment, you always feel the pressure. It is a part of our work, a part of the operational work. The Mission Control Center works day and night depending on the need. At the Mission Control Center, there is a special group of psychological support. Its staff directly communicates with the crew throughout the expedition. I would like to thank the group of psychological support. This girl who works at the MCC and provides psychological comfort for us here, a comfortable psychological atmosphere. How do they do it? Of course, through video transmission.
They make video for our needs, and every day they upload films, documentaries, news. We look forward to it.
Well, some personal things like music, songs, in general, any video information. We are looking forward to it all the time. But usually it happens in the evening. And we, according to the tradition, watch the news at 7 o'clock local time. We always watch the news during dinner, like we do at home. In addition, the group of psychological support prepares and arranges the delivery of little parcels on board. They send them with the so-called trucks, manned spaceships. These are grapefruits, oranges, well, everything that is not in the standard diet, and everything that we need. Onion, garlic, chocolates, sweets. It is like a treat for us. All this is arranged by our girls from the group of psychological support. Getting used to living in the weightlessness is an individual process, and all the astronauts go through it differently. Someone does not feel well during the first 2 or 3 weeks in space. Someone, on the contrary, almost immediately feels good on board the station. Mikhail Kornienko got used to the weightlessness smoothly and quickly. There was no hard period with all the psychological problems, such as nausea and dizziness. It is much more difficult, according to the cosmonaut, to get used to life at the station in psychological terms. Days are often similar to one another, despite the variety of tasks. And over time, a person starts missing things he had on Earth. I even miss the smells from Earth. What helps me to distract from the sad thoughts? First of all, there is enough work for any astronaut. Almost every day, and even every hour, is scheduled, and there's always something to do. And of course, the possibility to communicate with Earth helps a lot. The ability to call to the Earth every day, sometimes not only one time a day. Video calls, parcels from home, from my wife, photos of loved ones which each astronaut has in his cabin. Today, the crew is able to call to landlines and mobile phones directly from the space station. Once a week, at the weekends, a communication session with their families is planned. In addition, the astronaut can see their families on their birthdays during the expeditions and in the New Year's. But besides that, at the ISS, there are only 3 weekends, not 10, as on Earth. Now I have a minute of free time, and I will go to my cabin, where I have a laptop, a computer, through which I can call my mother. I will call my family if you don't mind. This is my cabin. Using this headset, pre-enabling it, I can call to the Earth on any cell phone or a home phone. This is what I am going to do now. On my computer, I have a virtual model of the phone, virtual buttons which I use to type, and graphic schedule of communication through satellite. If there is a connection, and now there is, I can call home. This is what I'm doing now.
Most of the free time during the expedition, astronauts make videos and look at the Earth through the windows of the ISS.
Looking at the home planet sometimes helps no less than communicating with their loved ones. In the early months of his long flight, Mikhail Kornienko admitted that he missed terrestrial sunrises and sunsets, familiar sounds, and smells. The group of psychological support is trying to compensate for the lack of all this as much as possible through a variety of videos and photos from the Earth. Here, there are the views of the Earth, which you probably have already seen. They constantly get into the shot. We have them here at the time of the shooting. Here, there are simple Earth pictures that remind us of our planet, of things I have not seen for a long time: trees, green grass, water. These would seem such common things that you do not notice on the Earth. And here in space, after several months of the flight, you start to appreciate them and treat them very differently. They sent me this picture at my request. It is just a picture from a calendar, from an ordinary calendar. These are the views of nature. Now, we will replace the old ones that we have here. They get dirty because in weightlessness, everything flies.
Here, we will replace them with these new pictures.
You pass by them and they make you happier. You feel better when you look at the native village. Pines, lake, river. This was sent to us for the new year. A monkey. The year of the monkey. A Christmas tree. In fact, the group of psychological support deals with such things. And of course, they make our lives here a lot easier. I am very grateful for this. The astronauts step on the ground the last time before the long flight. 2 of them have to spend 6 months in space, and Valery Polyakov more than a year. A year-long expedition of Mikhail Kornienko is not the longest in the history of Russian cosmos exploration. Today, the world record holder is the Russian cosmonaut Valery Polyakov, who worked at the Mir orbital station for 437 days. A doctor and an employee of the Institute of Biomedical Problems. During his journey on the orbit, he carried out a huge number of experiments and did much for the global space science. We have the same daily rhythm as on Earth because our entire schedule is set in accordance with Moscow time. The only difference is that our day is not normalized. The work can be given unexpectedly and during the holidays, so we can sometimes work for 16 hours and maybe even more.
There have been some orbital old-timers in the history of space exploration.
We met with one of them at the Zvezdny City just before the return of Mikhail Kornienko to Earth. I do not interfere. It is not necessary. Watch your height. Look, you have already flown to the moon. Pilot cosmonaut hero of Russia, Sergei Avdeyev, is at the simulator. When he was preparing for his space missions, there was no such technology in the Zvezdny City. In mid-August 1998, Sergei flew to the Mir space station to spend there 379 days.
Each cosmonaut draws their visions, their drawings, diagrams, everything that needs to be done. And in a small scale of, well, 4 sheets.
Maneuvers, orientation, elements, important elements of the shutter. And this crib flew with me in all the flights. For myself, I noted the dates with the stamp of the station when I had it all. But it was done before I flew into space. Here, on Earth. On these sheets, which Sergei Avdeyev calls a space crib, there is a chronicle of his legendary flight which took place nearly 20 years ago. It is noteworthy that the commander of the Soyuz transport spacecraft who delivered the vehicle to orbit, as in the case of Mikhail Kornienko, was Gennady Padalka. During the spacewalk, they installed an experimental thin-film battery, assembled scientific instruments. Among them, there was a French meteor detector. During the flight, Sergei Avdeyev performed 4 spacewalks. The crew in which he worked was the first one which managed to grow wheat and collect seeds in space. 10 grains were left on board, and Sergei got the second space harvest. According to the astronaut, it was work and well-made schedule which helped him to distract and not go crazy during the long expedition.
And the most difficult were the 8th month and the 12th, the last month of the expedition.
In the end, you feel a big separation from everything happening in the world. And you get used to this weightlessness. It is very dangerous. Accustomed to the whole course of life here, you suddenly get a telegram or a radiogram. In this telegram, it is written that in such and such a day, you will be prescribed a training before the landing. What landing? Like, everything is fine. We are flying here and have adapted to everything. Sergei Avdeyev's 1-year-long flight was the last in a series of extra-long space missions of the last century. Since then, much has changed in science and technology. Therefore, the journey of Mikhail Kornienko pursues new goals. And certainly, its results will open new opportunities for the future conquerors of the universe. Keep watching, and you will see some unique experiments that an astronaut carries out on board of the ISS as part of the scientific program of his flight. And now, we offer you to hear the new Answers from Space. How many liters of water a day does an astronaut drink? On Earth, many use the following formula: 30 grams of water per kilogram of body weight. Is this formula appropriate on the ISS, given the complexity of the delivery of the resources from Earth? Well, I probably would not take into account the complexity of the delivery of the resources, because it is a vital necessity to drink.
Therefore, the Earth does not skimp on water delivery. We drink 1.5 or 2 liters of water, well, approximately, depending on the load of the day, just as on Earth.
This is without taking into account the water which comes to us with sublimated products that we dilute with water. Well, plus canned food, that is so-called hidden water. In general, we try to drink, of course, a little more here at the station. So there is no... Well, we need to detoxicate the body, so there are no salt deposits, no stagnation in the body. This is why we need to drink more water. Water is life, and they never tell us off for this from the Earth. On the contrary, it is recommended to drink more, especially after physical training.
So, one more question. Do you suffer from insomnia because there are 16 sunrises and sunsets in a day? How does your body cope with such an unusual thing? You know, it is very easy. We just do not look out the windows, through the windows, because there are 45 minutes in the day, 45 minutes in the night, and of course, it's impossible to sleep in such conditions. We live a normal terrestrial day. We wake up at 6 a.m., we go to sleep at 10 p.m., and get 8 hours of sleep. We live according to the Greenwich time, London, meridian. And so, when we go to the cabin, the guys in the SM module close the windows, and you cannot see what is going on outside. I sleep in the NOD 2 module on the ceiling. There are no windows there, So I come in, go to sleep at 10 or 11 p.m., and at 6 a.m. we get up with an alarm. That is an ordinary earthly rhythm of life, regardless of what is happening outside. Something like this, dear viewers.